JB Auto updates with the Model 21. So this is what's going on now. Run into an issue with the valves. I'm using 6mm valves, right? I'm going to try to make this quick. Now, they don't make retainers with a low profile like this one, or like this red one for the 6mm. Only for the 5.5s and the 6.5 for the big block and the 5mm, right? So this is the retainer that they make for a 6mm valve. Now you see the difference in the height. See the difference in the height of the valves, right? This is much taller. So what was going on was, and they don't make locks with the groove at the top. They just in the middle. So what was going on was, how I got my groove cut, right? I would have had to have this groove cut way down here like they do on the D&D heads to have enough of the tip sticking up for the rocker to sit on, right? So with this, it was sitting like this. Wasn't leaving me no room. So instead of getting new valves made, which would, this would have to been so far down to have that sticking up about like that to give me room for the rocker, I did my valve kind of like they did the D&D. The D&D is a 6.25 stem, but when it gets up here, they break it down to a 6mm, and this is the retainer that they use. Well, to stop that, I just made mine a 5.5 from here up. So now I can use the low profile with and adjust my height, my spring height, and I still got the ability to cut the pocket where when it locks in, hold on, when it lock in, it'll be something like that, leaving me, it'll be something like this, leaving me plenty of room for the rocker to sit on, right? So that issue is solved. Bam. Now, the Model 21, the crank is like maybe a half-inch longer, right? And then this part here on the small block, the 3/4 taper go back to about, that's like about 193, 192 thousandths from the seal. So when you put the clutch or torque converter on, it goes back like real close to the block. Where on this, it would have been sitting way out here, and that would have threw everything off for my customer. So what I'm going to do, and you got a 2.5 inches from the side cover to the end of the crank on the small block. So I'm going to make this the same dimensions. I'm going to cut this here, which would make this 2.5 inch distance, just like the small block. And I'm going to get this machine back to about right here, which will leave my 193,000 from the seal. So when he puts that torque converter on, everything will line up just like the small block. Issue solved. Everything else is beautiful. Now another issue I had with this is when you use the billet side cover on the Model 21, you got to get it, hold on, you got to get it machined because, oh shit, I got this tape on here. Let me take this off. But you got to get it machined so like the build I did on the Predator, I mean on the Tillerson block with the flathead crank, I had to cut I had to basically almost cut the crank gear in half. But on this, you have to get, well, what I did was I got the crank machined a little bit. Let me show you. Because it's going to hit and lock the crank up. So I got the crank machined back right? But when I machined it back, when I tightened up the side cover, it still had a little resistance on it, so it was hidden. So what I did was I machined the gear just slightly, nothing like the other build. Like this gear was like in half. Then you got to take so much out the crank. It really wasn't a good build. It wasn't going to hold up. So I would never put a flathead crank in a Tillerson again. That's not really a good idea. I'm telling you now off experience. You would be better off getting a custom 2400 crank or something like that. You know where you won't have to do that. But anyway, just to keep it simple, what I did was I took this back, had this cut back some so I wouldn't have to take a lot off the gear. You don't want to make this gear too thin. Then I just took a couple of thousandths off the front of the gear, and it worked out beautiful. I can tighten up the side cover. I got clearance. I even got a little side to side, so it's not hitting. So that took care of that. So I got all these issues out the way now. I got the head issue all cleared up. The block is super. We got our super big bore. Everything is clearing now. I just got to get this machine back 3/4 to about that line to leave my 193,000 here, and then cut this here, and it'll be the same dimension as this small block. Very close. Nothing is perfect. But when I send it to him, because these got the same bolt pattern as the small block, the 305 Model 21, when I send it to him, the torque converter and everything should line up perfect, and we banging. So once I get this out the way, I can finish assembling this, and I should be starting this thing up next weekend for sure, because I'm waiting on my new coil to come back. And that's it, man. Nothing else is stopping me from this build. Oh my God, I've been through a lot with this here, but I'm going to figure it out. So that's the update. This thing should be running by this weekend coming up for show. All right, JB Auto Racing.